Hello, everybody. As Eric said, my name is Joe, and I'm a recovering book publisher. And I say that only half jokingly, basically because I've spent the last 20 plus years in the book publishing industry. And we've heard from a lot of terrific speakers and founders today that represent other industries, but I'm here to tell you that book publishing is very much ripe for disruption. And in fact, that's what I'm focusing on in what I'm doing now as a consultant. And for the last two and a half years, I've had the pleasure of meeting with about 2 to 3 dozen different publishing and content industry startups and founders. And I've got to say that Richard and his team at Screwpulp rank right at the top in my book, no pun intended. But they have something I think that is really set to disrupt what's going on in publishing. And I just wanted to also mention that the traditional publishers are not where the innovation's happening. It's with this startup community. So I'm super fired up to introduce Richard Billings from Screwpulp.
Thank you, Joe. I'm Richard, CEO and founder of Screwpulp. And we are changing the way people publish books and discover books. I'm an amateur writer. And when I sat down to write that great American novel that we all have in us, I wondered, how am I going to publish my work? How am I going to market my work? How am I going to profit from my work? So I started to research the publishing industry. And what I found is that breaking into the traditional model is nearly impossible. You've got to go through professional readers and literary agents before you even make it to the editor's desk. And even if you are published through this archaic model, you're going to receive less than 25% of the final book sale. And 99% of all manuscripts that are submitted to this model are rejected. Well, let's take a look at why. This is a typical literary agent. She'll take in 32,000 inquiries in a year, and she's going to whittle that down to only representing 9 authors. And from those 9 authors, only 5 books will be published. And there are literally thousands of these literary agents doing this every year. And these guys are the experts. So these rejected books, they must be bad, right? Well, let's take Joanne, for example. Joanne wrote a book. She submitted it to 12 different publishing houses. She received 12 different rejection letters. It wasn't until a year later when one of the CEOs took a manuscript home and his 8-year-old daughter got a hold of it, and she begged him to publish. Even then, he only published 500 copies. Joanne's book series, Harry Potter, went on to sell nearly 500 million copies. Now, you may think that this is a once-in-a-lifetime Cinderella story. But every book you see behind me, from Catcher in the Rye to Catch-22, was rejected multiple times, many of them hundreds of times. Agatha Christie was rejected over 500 times over a 4-year period. She went on to sell $2 billion worth of books and is second only in book sales to William Shakespeare. Now, because of all these hurdles, many people are turning to self-publishing. Self-publishing has grown over 300% over the last 5 years, with nearly 250,000 self-published titles in 2011 alone. Now, self-publishing is great. It does offer more revenue from each book sale to the author, but it has its own problems. There's little to no marketing available, and there are no mechanisms in which to protect the buyer. So if you take the problems of the traditional model and the self-publishing model, the polls indicate that there are nearly 8 million unpublished novels and nearly 17 million unpublished how-to books just sitting out there waiting to be published. For nearly 500 years, an elite few has decided what books we read because the publishing industry controlled the distribution chains. Well, with the advent of the internet, and more importantly, mobile reading devices, those chains have been broken, and now the floodgates are open. So we need more eyes to help filter through the noise and find that good stuff. And just like Harry Potter, it's going to be average readers that do this. So who is going to save these great books from obscurity? Screwpulp. At Screwpulp, we've developed a new self-publishing model that utilizes average readers to both market and vet new books. We know that the best way to market a book is through word of mouth. So at Screwpulp, we give away initial copies in exchange for a social media mention and the promise of a star rating or review. After these initial copies, the price automatically goes up to $1. But now you've got a rating for potential buyers to base their decision on. So if you've got a 5-star book for $1, readers are going to snatch it up. And as your book becomes more popular, that price is going to continue to rise. Now this does 2 things. It not only builds your readership much more quickly, but it also builds confidence in your book's brand. And not only do we, best of all, the best thing about it is our low overhead approach of utilizing average readers allows the author to retain 75% of the final book sale. But not only do we give the author a unique marketplace in which to sell their work, we also provide them with the tools they need to market their work and the analytics they need to track that marketing. And we also provide them with the tools they need to track their sales and their potential sales. We're basically making them the CEO of their own publishing company. And to make sure that we can get their book into the hands of most readers, we provide their book in the format for all types of devices, whether it's an iPad or an Android device, whether it's a Nook or a Kindle. We provide the formats for all of those different devices. And our approach, there's many benefits to our approach. It's easy access, so anyone can publish. There are no rejection letters at Screwpulp. We provide those marketing tools that help the author to get the word out about their book. And our crowd-driven pricing gives clear indications to readers about the quality of the content. And the readers are the ones that drive that content. And of course, we provide more revenue to the author. And we do have some competition out there, but no one is providing all of these services under one umbrella. Both Kindle Direct Publishing and Public by Barnes & Noble only provide the books in the formats for their devices. Well, guess what? Screwpulp provides books for their devices and many others. Our social payment system allows early adopters to actually engage the authors and vice versa. The authors engage the readers. And we are the only ones that are providing these marketing tools along with the sales services. Now, to get to market, we're developing key partnerships with universities, writers groups. We're going to conferences and events, and we're partnering up with trade publications and trade websites. But we have one thing that most companies don't have, and that's built-in virality. That social payment system is already working for us, and we're using direct advertising to go to the readers. Our business model is simple. We keep 25% of each book sale. Now let's see how much money can be made here. If we take a sampling of only 2,500 books, and we know that by industry metrics that 95% of all books sell less than 100 copies. But that 5% that sells between 100 and 100,000 copies, if we take the metrics and run it through our pricing system, that equals $22 million. But don't forget that in 2011, there were 250,000 self-published titles. And with those kind of numbers, we equal $2.2 billion, and that's revenue for Screwpulp. But don't forget about those 25 million unpublished novels and how-to books that are just sitting out there right now. And if we can capture just 1% of those a year, that's another $2 billion. This is a huge market. We've built our team. I'm Richard Billings, the CEO. I have over 10 years experience in radio and television. I've spent the last 10 years in IT management. I manage large infrastructures and large budgets. I'm the brains of the operation. Don't tell these guys I said that. Will Phillips Jr. is our lead designer. He has over 7 years of advertising experience and design experience. He's worked the last year and a half at a nationally recognized advertising agency. He's the one that's creating our brand, and he's the one that makes the experience so nice. Chris Spitzer is our CTO. He has over 20 years experience building e-commerce platforms in multiple languages. He's the one that makes the gears turn seamlessly. Richard Batt is our COO. He's our operations, and he does our sales. He has over 10 years experience in logistics, and he's coordinated large events for both St. Jude and for Gibson Guitar. He's our day-to-day operator, but he's also using his excellent copyright skills to be the voice of Screwpulp. But what we're most excited about is our newest team member, Joe Weichert. With over 20 years experience in the publishing industry, working for O'Reilly, Wiley, and Macmillan. But one of the things he brings to the table for us is that he started a blog called Publishing 2020 about 8 years ago. And not only does it focus on the changes in the publishing industry, but it also helps to get the word out there. And for the last 2 years, he's worked for Tools of Change, which is a conference that focuses on changing this industry. So he's invaluable to us. We've also been reaching out for advice from people inside and outside the industry. Shari Stauch has over 30 years experience in the publishing industry, and Cliff McKinney started a successful startup here in Memphis called Work for Pi, and he's given us lots of advice. But Elias Roman is now the CEO of Songza, but what's important is he was previously the CEO of a venture called Amy Street. Amy Street proved the concept works. They had crowd-driven pricing for music. It did so well that they received $3.9 million in their second round in funding, and then they were acquired by Amazon. And Amazon shuttered them because they were likely disruptive to their new foray into the music industry. Our progress to date is we've raised $25,000 in seed capital. Back in March, we launched a prototype, and with that prototype, we got lots of information from both the readers and the writers. So we went back to the drawing board, and we built a brand new system from scratch. We launched that system on May 1st with only 4 authors and 4 books, and of course, 0 users. Within 1 week, we had 14 books by over 10 authors and over 200 users. I'm proud to say right now, we have 29 books by 25 authors, and we have over 400 users, and we haven't advertised at all. This shows the virality works. Another thing we're excited about are the partnerships we've made. WritersWin.com helps authors to filter through the noise of the publishing industry and separate the good from the bad, and they have agreed to put us on the good side. Pressbooks is an e-book formatting tool. It creates great-looking e-books. They're going to send authors our way, and we're going to send our authors their way to get their books formatted. And one thing that's really exciting is Ruka Press is a traditional publisher, but they know that they can't publish everything, and they're going to send their overflow to us, and we're going to send cover design towards their Sensical Design second company. We're asking for $650,000. And with that money, we're going to triple our efforts to getting more readers. We're going to get 30,000 readers in 18 months and 5,000 books. And conservatively, with those numbers, we can make $1.5 million over those 18 months. But another thing that we're excited about is we're going to introduce new services such as editing, cover design, and not only are those services great for the author, but they're also profitable for Screwpulp. Screwpulp, we've made it easier than ever for authors to publish, market, and profit from their work, all while giving clear indications to readers about the quality of the content. And since the readers are the ones that control that content, both the readers and the writers get exactly what they want, and not what the publishing industry thinks we want. Finally, after 500 years, publishing has started a new chapter. Thank you.